The time is now 5 o'clock. Whoa. Wow. The time is now 5 o'clock. Time is now 5 o'clock. I'll call this meeting of the Granbury Independent School District to order. Let the record show a quorum of board members is present tonight. The meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. At this time, we're going to convene into closed session under the Texas Open Meetings Act, under the same code, section 551.001, with the possibility of discussing, deliberating appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment duties, discipline or dismissal of a public officer or employee, which basically we'll talk about staff recommendations. Section 551.076 regarding security devices and security audit. Section 551.071, if necessary, a private consultation with the board's attorney. And Section 551.072, purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Time is now 5:01. We'll convene in a closed session. closed session. We opened the meeting at 5 o'clock and go into executive session, and we got out early today, so we recessed about 5:40. It's good to see everybody. Glad you're here tonight. I hope it's a good, informative meeting for you. At this time, I'm actually going to ask Dr. Paula McDonald to lead us in invocation.
You'll bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight with open hearts, and we thank you for the privilege that we have in this free country. Thank you for our schools, our staff, our administrators, our wonderful teachers, and most especially, Father, for our children. We pray that everything discussed here tonight and every decision is made with you in the forefront. And it's in your name, Jesus, that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Dr. McDonald. And very pleased and proud to see that our Marine Corps Junior ROTC program is here to do our colors. Would you please rise for the presentation?
Forward. March. Left. Right. Left. 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 Right. Left. Left. Forward. Hold. Left. Face. Come. Present. Come.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to
Carry. Go. Ready. Good. Ready. Pose. Side step. Arch. Ready. Pose. Right, face, forward, punch, left, right, left, 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 right, left, left.
Thank you very much to the Guard. I know we're about to hear more about the program in a minute, but very proud of all you young men and women. Thank you so much. Okay, at this time, item number 6 is our open forum public comment period. Have we had anyone sign up tonight? Okay. We always welcome the public, by the way, to come in. There's cards in the back that you can fill out, just name and address for information. And with the board and the administration team, it's always open ears and welcome to hear what's on your mind. But having none tonight, let's go on to Achievement Spotlight. Speaking of the Granbury Marine Corps JROTC, I think at this time we got Lieutenant Colonel Casey coming up and your presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the board for having us out. The disclaimer is First Sergeant Rositas is not here, so the training wheels are off. So no, I'm just joking. So just he's off deck. He's taking his kiddo to University of Chicago, getting him checked in. So he's taking that a week vacation. So that's very nice for him. Not for me though. So I'm still waiting for that sub to show up. So, but anyway, just wanted to brief you guys on 2 highlight events that happened with us last year based on some empirical data. Basically, it's our STAR exam that we have. So the first is the Naval Honor School. What that is this is the 8th year that we have received the Naval Honor School designation. That's the top 10% of all Marine Corps JRTCs in our region. And what that does is, because we are a Naval Honor School this year, any of our seniors that want to apply for a service academy, our letter of recommendation is the same as a congressional letter of recommendation. So what happens is when they, thank you. So those kiddos that are applying for the academy, and we have 2 right now that are applying for the academies, when those piles get up there at the academies, it gets put in the special pile on the end, the smaller pile, so they get headline privileges. So that's good for them. Some of the stuff that they looked at, it was based on the cadets behind me and the rest of the battalion, 120 kiddos last year. They looked at involvement in school activities, clubs, scholarships. Last year, our seniors received around $750,000 worth of scholarships. So that's just ROTC kids. So they add all that together, compare that to all the other JRTCs, the 250 that are out there, the Marine Corps JRTCs, and then they take the top 10%. That data is also looked at when they're comparing the best JRTC in the region. So there's 4 regions, so there's only 4 of these awards that they give out. So this award is called the Marine Corps Reserve Association Award, or the McCrow Award. So we received that this year. That is the first time in 21 years of the program that Granbury High School received the McCrow Award. So we don't get anything special for that except for a plaque. So, but we do get, we get to have a banner on our colors that designates us as a McCrow school and a Naval Honor School. So those will be coming in. So that's a big deal in our world. So very proud of what the kiddos did. Like I said, that's out of the 268 programs that are out there, we're one of 4 across the world. That means, you know, the ones that are in Guam, Okinawa, we were competing against them as well. So thanks to the kiddos, their hard work, because that's, you know, all those community, over 3,000 community service hours that they put in last year, even with the COVID stuff that was going on. So they put a lot of hours in out in town and supporting the public. So appreciate what they did, appreciate the support from the school district. We wouldn't have this if we didn't have this award, if we didn't have support from the school district and the school behind us. So just wanted to brief you guys and say thank you for the support and supporting our kiddos at the school. So thank you very much.
Do we happen to have any parents, family, friends come tonight in support of these guys? Okay, hey, we got, all right. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your kids.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also want to thank Colonel Casey. I mean, we have an incredible JROTC program, nationally recognized in large part because of his leadership. So we're grateful for Colonel Casey and First Sergeant Rositas, who is not with us tonight. He's actually in Illinois, I believe, taking his son to the University of Chicago, which I know it's bittersweet for him having to do that. But we're proud of all the work that you do, Colonel Casey, and certainly the First Sergeant. Your efforts are are definitely noticed and appreciated. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kendra Fisher, the Director of Choir for Granbury High School.
Good evening. I'm very excited to be here this evening to let you know about the amazing accomplishment of these young men that are in the back right now. I will give you just a little bit of a history lesson because I feel like it's important, because I think everyone needs to see just how far they've come, how much they've overcome is a real testament to overcoming adversity and getting to the top. So if we look back to 2018, 2019, because that's how far we have to go, Mr. Willis was actually still in our choir at that time. So your voice is on our recordings that were submitted also, and we thank you for your contribution. But that particular school year, our seniors this year were freshmen, and so we were having a great time, and then we lost a dear teacher in the middle of the first semester, and we kept going. And then we got to second semester, and we had a student, choir student, my own child, have cancer, so we dealt with that, and we kept going. And we got to the next school year, and we're like, yes, it's going to be a great year. And we had a grand time up until March 2019, 2020, and then we all know what happened, right? We went on a great trip to Canada and never came back to school. And we didn't get to do UIL that year, but we had been singing all up to, till that year was over, and that was a hard time for everyone. And then we came back to school last year, so 2021, came back to school, and everything was very uncertain. And we are so thankful that our school board allowed us to continue to be at school in person and continued to allow us to not only be at school in person, but even though we may have had to make a few adjustments, we were at least able to still have choir, and we were able to sing every day, even if we didn't appreciate doing it 6 feet apart for a while, but we kept going. And we got to UIL, and we still had UIL, and then we submitted our recordings of 2018-19, 2020, 2021. We submitted our recordings to the Texas Music Educators Association, and our men's choir was chosen as an invited choir for the Texas Music Educators Association Convention in 2022, which is the equivalent of our men's choir winning state for choir in the state of Texas, which is an outstanding accomplishment. So I'm very proud of all of them, and I am especially proud of our upperclassmen and the leadership that they have provided to get us there, and the fact that they just never quit, and they always wanted to do it one more time to make sure that it was the best they could possibly do. And here we are tonight, so thank you. Thank you for letting us sing.
Oh, we don't have enough.
Shake hands.
He handed them to me. So are they going to sing?
I don't know.
And then look for your windows, your choir.
Miss Fisher?
Peyton,
She can do it at the office. Yeah, that's good.
you ready? All right. Everybody look this way and smile big. All right, you good? I'm not gonna pull it up. I don't trust myself.
Use it lightly.
Oh,
Final pirates, fight on through. We're here and back of you. We're here to win, so stay right in and fight until the end. Fight, fight, fight! Loyal and true we'll ever be. Where the pirates can't you see? We'll fight and fight to show our soul for the Granbury purple and gold. Yay, purple, yay, gold, yay, pirates, let's go!
thank you, Kim.
I know we had some parents. Thank you, guys.
Miss Fisher, that was great. That was great. Thank you very much. Just for the parents out there, a lot of choir programs shelved the entire department last year due to COVID. And Ms. Fisher and Mr. Wheatley, they kept pushing through, they kept singing, and truly a testament to their hard work. And from now on, this is how we're going to start every meeting.
Dr. Glenn, I would suggest we have the administrative team in the audience sing the fight song before everybody. Yeah, you people? Yeah. Okay, at this time, we're on item 8 tonight. 8A are consent agenda items. These are pretty typical business affairs that we normally just put under this category. But at this time, I would like to ask the board if anyone would like to pull an item for general discussion and a separate vote, or if you have any comments.
I'd like to make a few comments. It's always my pleasure, my board allows me to do this, to honor those that have given donations to our students. And the young farmers have donated $1,500 to support the FFA. Texas FFA donated $500 to support our local FFA. Home Depot provided hand sanitizers to all of our campuses at a rate of $100. Granbury Optimist Club provided banners to the Junior Optimist Club to the tune of $1,500. They also donated 2 freezers to the athletic department for another $450. And Dwayne Strickland from the Hood County Democratic Club supported the robotics student activity with $300. Folks, that adds up to a whopping $4,450 that your community supported to this school for our students. Thank them if you get a chance.
Dr. Glenn, I had a question. Item 3, our out-of-state travel, the band's proposal to perform out at Disney World next spring. I'll just say as a personal side, I've been on that trip. It's fantastic. I assume they said the total cost in there to the district is $800. I assume, is that
That is to cover the sponsors.
the sponsors only?
That
Okay.
is correct. We don't ask the kids. The kids will be fundraising for the
Right.
trip.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on consent items?
Mr. President, I move that we accept the consent items, including budget amendments, the minutes of the regular meeting of August 23rd, special meetings of August 25th and September 14th, the out-of-state travel to Disney World for the band, the annual utility cost is presented by Mr. Whitefield, the award of a bid for on-site student and staff the local restaurants and donations as a result of a bid, and the instructional supplies and equipment bid as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Dr. Harrington, a second from Ms. Alana to approve the consent items as presented. You all have all the details in your board book. Seeing no other questions, all those in favor, raise your hand, and that motion carries 7-0. At this time, we're on item 8B, resolution to consider alternative graduation requirements, and looks like Ms. Rodriguez, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here. I am really excited to be able to present on this resolution today. I'm not sure if you're aware, but last year there was a change. It was an update. Texas Administrative Code 74.1027 has allowed students who entered 9th grade before 2011-12 school year who met all graduation requirements except they were not successful on the standardized test. They changed that where we could do something different and help them. And it has been really exciting. Last year we were able to go through our records just at STARS, and there is a good list of individuals who don't have a diploma. You know, they did everything they needed to do. They worked really hard. They completed their courses, but they just were not successful on their standardized test. So, excuse me, sorry. This code has allowed us to do something different. And I've actually been able to visit with multiple students already who have that ability now to do something different with their lives. And by approving this resolution, what we're able to do is, as a district, we can have this criteria. There's a criteria where if they did something outside already, they can go ahead and be awarded a diploma. However, if they haven't, then they come back and they do different local assessments, and there's things we can do locally. That's what's in this, this resolution. So, we will be able to pursue more individuals and help them get a diploma. Even though it's been a while, we're going to change lives, and that's what this is all about. So that's just, maybe I talked too much. That was in a nutshell. Any questions?
So you were actually able to go back, it sounds like approximately 10 years, and find this group of students that are that close to getting a diploma. And you're saying the statute allows us to give them that pathway?
That is correct. That is correct. There's a list of students who, on their transcript, and when we were able to pull those last year, we went through the stack of transcripts for those years, and it says pending tax on their transcript. So they met all course requirements. They did everything that they were supposed to do locally, except that state assessment caused them not to actually get a diploma.
Do you know how many approximately?
I don't. I would have to go back and look. There is part of this statute that says if they have done anything with the military, if they have any kind of alternative certification, like we had someone, y'all remember signing a diploma, she had her CNA certificate. And so that ability, because they had that post-graduation, that counted as an alternative assessment. And then we have a current student who I hope or individual, I hope she's watching, she's waiting to see the results of this, but she came in and she took our MAP test, and she successfully placed over that standard if we compared it to STAR. And she wants to be a dental assistant, and so she's kind of waiting to see what happens next so she can pursue that dream. So a lot of, life changes. Just with this, we are able to change their course in life. So I think that's amazing.
And would we be able to recognize them once, if this does pass, that we can do
I
something
would
to recognize them?
definitely ask them. I would love that. I'm all about celebrating and recognizing and taking pictures. So, any other questions? Thank y'all very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Margaret. We really appreciate you leading the STARS BTC. You've just done a commendable job, you and the staff there, and we really appreciate you and all their efforts. So thank you for bringing this forward and bringing it to light for us. So at this time, we'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
Mr. President, I'd like to make the motion to approve the resolution to consider alternative graduation requirements as presented.
I will second that, and I would like to say that this is an absolutely amazing opportunity for some individuals out there who, if this goes back for 10 years, may have been running in circles trying to figure out what they were going to be doing with their lives. This may have been one thing that was holding them back. So I just full-heartedly support this, and I think this is outstanding. And it's going to make a big difference in some lives. So I second the motion.
Thank you. So excuse me, we have a motion from Dr. McDonald and a second from Ms. Alana. Normally, we would read a resolution into the record, but this is a 2-page document. It will be publicly available. It's got a lot of numbers and parentheses and whatnot in it, so, but it would be available for inspection. But it's a great document. It's going to open the door, and thank you again, Margaret, for bringing this forward. So we have the motion. See no other questions. We'll vote. All those in favor of passing the resolution to consider alternative graduation requirements, raise your hand. That motion carries 7-0. Thank you, and congratulations to the students. Okay, at this time, we are on to campus improvement plans, and Stacy Brown's our presenter.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Just wanted to, I guess, start off by saying how lucky are we? I get to work with a phenomenal bunch of educators and administrators at the campus level, and they have been working on their campus improvement plans since April of last year. We have met face-to-face, we have considered options, we've reviewed scores, we've gone through, we've added positions, we tackled reading academies, we did subs for staff development. We really have set ourselves up to head forward and make up some ground that was left by COVID. So the campus improvement plans, I know that you guys have reviewed them. Maybe, Dr. H, did you get them? I wasn't sure.
I did.
Okay.
And I read them.
I figured you did. Yes, ma'am. And so I'm here to answer any general questions, but I have the fleet of amazingness behind me, and they will run up to the microphone as well. That's right, run. What questions do you guys have for us?
Stacy, I know we've had some recent really good news on one of our campuses. There's another one that remains that I believe is still under improvement plan. I would assume that is separate from,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The TIP plan is separate. Yes, sir.
thank you.
And of course, I have some comments.
Okay.
Surprise you, Stacy?
I'm ready.
I want to say that I loved the at-a-glance format. I think it's something that will be useful for teachers in the classroom, and I think it's very important for this to be a living document for them. I hate the fact that school districts do it and they never look at it again, because that's just busy work. And I'm so proud of our staff, because you do let this guide a lot of what you do in the classroom. Having said that, as I was talking earlier with one of the staff about it, our choir director at church, if she thinks we've done a really good job, she says, well, that's not terrible. I want to tell you, that's not terrible. Y'all did a good job this year. It is really, really well done. Some comments, and if your campus, I'm not going to call campuses out by name, but some of you had statements like 100% of XYZ, or GISD is what I'm going to insert there, will do this or that. What does 100% mean, and what are you doing now? It seems to me that those are things that 100% ought to be doing, but look at that and see what that really means. It didn't mean a thing to me as I read through the plans. Student performance. It is so important to know where the kids are now, to know where we're going. And I don't care how well we're doing, if we're not at 99, and 99% is the only one that is all right with me for us to just have 1%, because we got to dream big, folks. If you dream big, you can do it. So look at your percentages and where you're moving to. Even if you're a top school and campus in the district, maybe 1% is not enough. Now, I understand also that because of the new kids in school and the changes in population, that may impact some of how you look at your improvement. Please look at it with the thought that every child can learn, even those that are on swinging doors in and out. You know, you've got those doors where the kids are here and they're gone, they're here and they're gone. Know that you can, those kids can learn. So please look at that when you start looking at your percentages. I was confused a little bit about what is the Nun Club? I don't want you to tell me. I just want you to look at it and then tell me later what your Nun Club is on your campus. Make sure your goals are ambitious enough so that you could stand out on the street and say, by golly, this group of teachers thinks we can do this. As Dr. Glenn has preached to this board on more than one occasion, even if we're at 99%, we want to be 100. I think it's important that you as campus leaders live with that mandate. And qualified staff, some of you addressed that, and I was wondering as I read it, well, is this staff you currently have? Is this staff you want? Is this staff? So what is the qualified staff? Basically, having said all that, I was really proud of the job you did this year, and I thank you for your hard work. In addition to everything else you've had going on, I'm really proud of what you've done on all of your campuses.
I'll just say I know that you guys work very hard on it. That's incredibly high praise from Dr. H. And those of you Margaret, you know, for those of you who attend our meetings a lot, there's a reason our principals are all on the front row on this night. It's, they know the bar is high, and certainly the expectation that we not only instill academics in our schools, but there's also a sense of urgency as it relates to academic for our kids, especially when we know there was learning loss due to COVID. But we appreciate you guys and how hard you and your teams worked on putting these plans together. And certainly, Stacy, we know that you're always there to lend a helping hand through the curriculum department.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Run. No, great job. Thank you all to your teams, and we know, and one of us says this every year, that these are living documents, and trust that you will be pulling these out and revisiting with your teams periodically. Very, very important documents, and very important to revisit these on a regular basis to make sure you're hitting your benchmarks and your bogeys. Okay, that said, I'll entertain a motion to approve these this year.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the campus improvement plans as presented.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion from Dr. Harrington and a second from, what's your name, sir? No, Mr. Willis, we're glad to have you back tonight. We haven't said that yet, but can we give this young man a round of applause?
Thank you.
We praise the good Lord for he smiled on your family, especially your little daughter, so we're glad she's well on her way.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, we have the motion and the second, and let's now vote on the campus improvement plans. All those in favor, raise your hand. And that motion carries. Great. Okay, we're on item 8D, consider and approve the amendment to an agreement with the city of Granbury that will allow Cornerstone Christian Academy access to play football on our Decker Field. Dr. Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Some of you may remember back in 2019, the ISD returned the Decker property back to the city. So originally, back in, I believe, the 1940s, the property was the city's. It was deeded to the school for the educational use. We used it for many, many years, and then we came to an agreement with the city to deed it back to the city for public use. Specifically, in that agreement with the city was language that prohibited charter schools and private schools from using the building, specifically the Weatherford College building, because we want to keep Weatherford College here, and certainly they have been good not only to the district through dual credits, but obviously to others in the community as well. However, for the last, I guess, 2 years, Cornerstone has played football at Decker Field, and we never really felt like there was an issue with that from a school standpoint. But 2 weeks ago, I received a call from one of their trustees saying that the city said they could not use that field anymore because of the language in the contract that we signed in 2019. So in order to remedy that, it would be my recommendation that we approve an amendment to the contract that allowed us Cornerstone Christian to play football at Decker Field. I don't think that was ever our intention for them not to be able to play football there. We have a good working relationship with all the schools in Hood County, and certainly if that helps Cornerstone Christian out, it was always our understanding they would be allowed to play there. And so I would ask tonight that we amend the contract, and obviously the city would have to do the same thing, but to allow Decker Field to be used by Cornerstone Christian Academy for their football games.
Well, we want to be good neighbors. We do want to allow these young men that want to play football, I guess maybe women too, to get out there and be able to play football. I see no reason why we should prohibit that. So I would like to move that we adjust the language on our agreement to allow the Cornerstone Christian Academy. Now, are we allowing other groups, or are we just saying this one group?
Again, that would be the pleasure of the board. All I can say is Cornerstone Christian Academy, to my knowledge, is the only school that has been using it. And the contract was signed in 2019, and for the last 2 years, they've used it, and this was the year they were told they
Okay.
can't use it. So
we'll
this clarifies it for Cornerstone Christian, and I guess if another school wants to come, they can certainly approach the city and the school.
Okay. All right, then my motion is to change the language with the agreement with the city of Granbury that will allow Cornerstone Christian Academy access to play football at Decker Field.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, a motion from Ms. Solana and a second from Mr. Moore, as stated, to change the language in the agreement to allow Cornerstone Christian Academy to play football there. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Okay, we're on item 8E, consider tax appraisal board nominations for Hood, Johnson, Parker, and Somervell counties. Dr. Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you guys know, for Johnson, Parker, and Somervell County, it's pretty standard procedure that in odd number years, boards have the opportunity, entities have the opportunity to elect HCAD board members. In Hood County, that was not the case until a recent AG opinion that you guys remember because we submitted it allowed or required Hood County to come into compliance legally with a statute that changed back in 2007. So for the first time, we will actually vote based on levy rather than a plurality, one vote per entity. So our votes will count for significantly more this year. To that end, there are 5 seats that are up on the HCAD board, and you all have the ability to nominate one individual for each of the 5 positions. So I have a recommendation or have a list of individuals from the county and the city and also that are currently on the board that have expressed interest. Obviously, every entity, and there are 11, I believe, will have the opportunity to nominate, and then the chief appraiser will put together a ballot, and we will come back and vote in November, and they'll finalize the ballots, I believe, December 15th. So this is just nominations to get names on a ballot, and you can nominate 5 tonight, and again, this is a pleasure of the board, so we do not have a recommendation.
And just to clarify, we just have a little sliver of Johnson, Parker, and Somervell counties, and at least my experience being on this board for a while, and I know Ms. Solana and Dr. Harrington can speak to this, we normally don't nominate anyone for their appraisal district boards just because our number of votes, I think, for example, in Somervell, we have 12 votes out of 5,000. Wouldn't carry any weight and kind of just be frankly, a waste of time. So we focus on Hood County, where we do have most of the voting authority now per the correct Texas code stemming from that law change in 2007. So with that said, some of you may not know, I've been on the HCAD board since November of last year. I was appointed to serve actually Bobby Mayberry's remaining term on that board. And it's been real eye-opening. There have been some issues over there and some things we've needed to address and fix, and we're slowly getting it done. And with that said, I have agreed if nominated, if elected, I will stay on the board at least for an interim period next year, kind of on a transitional basis, maybe for up to 6 months. But we have 2 other existing board members who have expressed interest in remaining on the board, and that is Brooks Goodson and Brian Thomas. Brooks Goodson currently is on the Toller ISD School Board, and you may know as part owner in G-Force down there. And Brian Thomas owns and operates several nursing homes. And has also been on the Toller ISD board in the past, but now he is not on that board. But we've got some other names that we've been given. Judge Massengale has forwarded a couple names to us, Ron Sutton and David Wells. The city has also forwarded some names, Mickey Parsons, Randy Moore, and Mark McDonald. And Mickey Parsons, former councilman, Mark McDonald is a businessman, and I think is somewhat familiar with one of our trustees here. The others I don't really know. So there's 8 names on this list. You can put forward your own names in nomination tonight if you wish. It doesn't have to be any of these, but I would certainly recommend we put 5 names into nomination tonight.
Mr. President, I would like to nominate Brian Thomas. I think it would be a good idea to have that consistency on the board as opposed to putting together a full new board.
Okay, so we can take these one at a time. That's fine. So we have a nomination for Brian Thomas. He has been on the board, I'm not sure how long, to be honest. I know it's been a few years. Do I hear a second for his nomination?
I second that nomination.
Okay, so we have a second. All those in favor of putting Brian Thomas forward in nomination, raise your hand. Okay, and that carries. So we have 1 in nomination.
Mr. President, I move that we place your name back on the ballot again, since you're willing to serve at least through the interim time.
Can we do more than one at a time?
If you like, sure.
Okay, I'd also like to nominate Mark McDonald, Brooks Gibson,
Yeah, Goodson, I'm sorry.
okay, and Ron Sutton.
Okay, so the 4 names I believe you just gave me were myself, Mark McDonald, Brooks Goodson, and Ron Sutton.
Yes.
Do I have a second? Or did we get a second?
We didn't get it. We got a second on the.
I will
single
second.
one. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And
Karen.
Mr. President, because of the name on there, I will abstain from the vote.
I respect that. Any other discussion or questions? And just so you know, it's going to be a big year for the appraisal district. They're striving hard to get the service level up, and at the same time, they will be bringing forward a proposal for a new office. It's an exciting plan, and it may incorporate a state agency as one of our leasees. So very exciting developments there. And to Dr. McDonald's point, or actually I think Barbara made this point, continuity will be important. So to have 2 or 3 board members that have been on there, especially Brooks and Brian, who've been on there for a few years, it'll be good to have that continuity. Okay, so we have 4 names in nomination: Mark McDonald, Mark Jackson, Brooks Goodson, and Ron Sutton. Any other questions? All those in favor of those 4, raise your hand. Let the record show we have 6 in favor and 1 abstention. And we now have our 5 names to put forward. And Dr. Glenn, I presume you'll forward those 5 names to the appraisal district on behalf of the school district.
Yes, sir, we will take care of that.
Okay, thank you. That concludes item E. Item F, consider and approve superintendent goals for the 2021-2022 school year.
Thank you, Mr. President. For those in the audience that don't know, the trustees met. They meet annually and develop performance goals for the superintendent as required by state law. In addition to that, in January, they do a formative evaluation and a summative evaluation. This year, they had 4 goals. The first centers on academic improvement of all campuses in GISD. The second relates to continuing to work to keep our schools open and navigate and manage the district through the COVID-19 pandemic. The third relates to long-range planning and addressing the long-term growth and the influx of students that we've seen over the course of the last year. And then the final goal relates to the possibility of bond planning based on a charge that the trustees gave the administrative staff to form a strategic planning committee and explore the potential for expanding facilities to accommodate growing enrollment. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. President, if you want to elaborate.
I'll just open it to the board. We collectively formulated these goals just a week or so ago. Does anyone want to expand or make any comment on those? They are what they are. No pressure, Dr. Glenn, but we do have expectations, and we know you got a good team around you, so.
Well, I would like to point out that our number one goal, and we all, across the board, know that this is the most important thing, is student performance. That is our number one goal for Dr. Glenn in this district.
Well said. Thank you, Dr. McDonald. Okay, so at this time, we need to formalize these goals into board action. Entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the superintendent goals for 2021-2022 school year that we have stated.
I will second that.
Thank you, Nancy. I was worried for a minute we wouldn't have any goals for Dr. Glenn. He just skate through this year, right?
Well, and I will say this just for everybody's sake, for those that aren't familiar with the process of the evaluation of the superintendent in the district. In addition to these performance goals, there are minimum requirements from the state of Texas for districts each year, which not only include academic performance, but also the management of finances, the management of facilities, the management of operations, tax rate, et cetera, for the district. So these are in addition to the minimum requirements set forth by the state of Texas.
Thank you, Dr. Glenn, for that added comment. And we have a motion. All those in favor of the board goals that we've put into place for Dr. Glenn for this coming year? All those in favor, raise your hand. And that motion carries. Okay, we're item 8G, consider amending the school calendar to make October 25th an additional professional development day for all GISD staff. Mr. Dawson, are you going to come?
Yes.
Oh, there you
right
are.
here.
Sorry.
Thanks, Mr. Jackson. I think Ms. Fisher did a good job of kind of describing the last several years. And so this year we started off thinking it was going to be just back to somewhat of a normal year, but it was all anything but. Teachers have worked really, really hard this year, and we've faced some challenges that were definitely unforeseen. So within our minutes that we have, we'd like to recommend one additional staff development day for our teachers, just to give them that extra time for planning, networking together, doing some PLCs. In addition to that, just have another opportunity for our custodial crew to get through and do some deep cleaning. So currently, we have 3 additional days that are built in from our required minutes. In addition to that, we have 2 bad weather days that are built in April. So this one additional day will allow our teachers to have some time in that October date, and it'll allow us 2 additional days if extreme weather were to come. So we still have 4 days built in. So this would be just a day from our current minutes that could be built in for teacher professional development and work time.
And yes,
On the current calendar, is that currently a student day or regular teacher day? So you'll give the students a holiday that day, and our teachers will have an opportunity for staff development?
Yes, ma'am.
So currently we have 3.5 days built into our calendar where staff would be required to come in and students would be off. We're asking to use one of those days, which essentially would create a 3-day weekend for students every other week. And so in addition to giving our teachers just time to get their head above water, because it has been a stressful year and a lot of them are playing catch up, it's also going to allow us to work with SSC, who has had trouble getting staff themselves time to get into our buildings and really do some deep cleaning. Excuse me. They do a great job of cleaning our buildings every night, and obviously our staff has accepted some of that responsibility to make sure our buildings are clean. But one of our board goals, one of our district goals is to remain open. We know that's what's best for students. We want to keep our doors open. We don't want to shut down. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that we're taking care of our facilities and addressing the needs. And Mr. Dawson's recommendation allows us to do that.
I just have a question. Professional development can be a dirty word in the teacher circles. Is this going to be
I'm glad you said that.
a day where they're going to be in one session after another, or are they actually going to have classroom time?
We're hoping to give them time to, again, just to get their head above water. So no, we're to the point right now as a team, we're saying we don't want to add anything additional to their plate, and that has been really something we want to stand firm on because, again, a lot of unforeseen circumstances have hit, a lot of campuses having to cover for each other just in these times that teachers are out. Our sub-fill rate is very low, so it's just been next man up, basically. And so we want to be very diligent and give the gift of time back to some teachers just to, again, to keep their head above water, which I think is a very nice gift.
Agreed. Thank you, Jimmy. That was the right answer.
So we could really call it a teacher prep day. I like that. Mr. President, I move that we consider amending the school calendar to make October the 25th, 2021, an additional professional development day for all GISD staff and a student holiday for all GISD students.
And I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Harrington, for the motion, and Mr. Willis for the second. See no further questions. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. That motion carries 7-0. Item H, consider revision to retention stipend for the 2021-2022 school year. Emmett.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board, before you have an action item. It is a revision to the 21-22 salary schedule and the compensation plan. At the June 21st board meeting, you did approve a $100 stipend to be paid prior to the Christmas holiday. Administration is recommending to increase that stipend to $500 for full-time employees and $250 for part-time employees. We intend to use ESSER 2 funding to pay for that, and we estimate that to be about $600,000 to that grant. The recommendation is that you would approve the 21-22 compensation plan revision to include that stipend at those amounts.
Thank you, Emmett. And trustees, as you know, the ESSER funding is federal funding that we receive due to COVID. There are very specific rules that apply to it. In fact, I want to thank Stacy and her team. They do an incredible job of writing those grants for us. As you remember, you approved $1,000 to be paid in August and $100 to be paid in November, right before the Thanksgiving break. So our recommendation is to use the surplus of federal funding to compensate our teachers, not $100, but $500. And I'll tell you, the real reason for this is that our teachers have gone above and beyond to keep our campuses open. Mr. Jones, I believe we've averaged about a 55% fill rate over the course of the first 6 weeks. That's horrible. So that means out of every 10 teachers that are gone, we're able to get about 5 subs to come in there, which means our staff has to make up the difference. So they've got to take extra kids into their class. They've got to give up their conferences. They've got to come earlier. They've got to stay later. All those papers still have to be graded that students are turning in. And our teachers have been heroic in their efforts. And it is for that reason we recommend this change.
And I'd like to just comment that as a former teacher, I know I spent a lot of money of my own, and I know our teachers do as well. They spend a lot of money out of their own pockets, and I just think there's so many people that do not realize that. So this is just, I wish we could give them a lot more. I really do.
I do too, and I wish there were more things that we could do for our teachers, and I know they have gone above and beyond, and principals, I hope that you will let our teachers know that we do recognize the hard work that they have gone through, not just this year, but last year. And they've been incredible. And we truly appreciate everything they have done. And Mr. President, at this time, I would like to move that we approve the $500 stipend to be paid to full-time employees by November 19th. I believe that's what that said. And to part-time, $250 by November 19th.
And just as clarification for those in the audience, just because some may be watching online, this does include our paraprofessionals and bus drivers and cafeteria workers as well. So we are taking care of the entire GISD family.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion from Ms. Lana, a second from Dr. McDonald to approve the proposed stipend revisions, if you will, for later this year. Seeing no other questions, we'll vote. All those in favor of the revisions, raise your hand. That motion carries 7-0. Item I, our last action item, is consider adoption of resolution extending 10 COVID extended leave days. Emmett, that looks like yours again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. It is an action item for COVID extended leave resolution. It's very similar to the ones we've had in the past, but it is for this year, and it is the 10 days, and it is just for 10 days, but it will be retroactive back to the first of the school year.
And again, it's this ESSER funds that will cover the payment of these days?
Yes, sir. This is a soft cost that we absorb with ESSER.
Okay. And so, just for clarity, this is the employee if they test positive, or does it cover them if they have to stay home with a family member that's tested positive?
This resolution does not cover that. This resolution is if the employee themselves tests positive.
Oh, we're the employee, so, okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
It's only the employee, and it's only for 10 days. I will tell you that in some instances, we have had staff that have had to be out for longer than 10 days. When those more severe cases arise, staff are encouraged to apply for sick bank days.
There is a resolution in the board book I'd point out, and again, we'll just make that available for the public, but it's all the legalese and the whereases and wherefores that has to cover the language to allow for these 10 days. Are there any questions on that, or does any trustee desire it be read to the record? So otherwise, we'll just need a motion to act on the resolution.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the resolution extending 10 COVID extended leave days for our staff.
I will second the motion.
Thanks, Ms. Townsend, for the motion. Ms. Lana for the second. Seeing no other questions, we'll vote. All those in favor of passing the resolution as presented, raise your hand, and that motion carries. All right, we're on to the report section of the agenda tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. President. And first of all, I want to thank you for the action on the last three items as we talk about COVID-19 and navigating Granbury ISD through the pandemic. I think all three of those items are critical to not only our staff, but our students as well, to make sure that our schools stay up and running. To that end, I'm pleased to announce, I guess for the first time in a while, that our COVID numbers are down, and they are down significantly. I do want to give a shout out to Jeff Metter. He takes care of our dashboard every week. And I think it's important that through this entire process, Granbury ISD has tried to be as transparent as possible, letting everybody know exactly where the cases are occurring and putting that information out weekly. I know sometimes parents can get frustrated because they get a lot of notifications every week letting them know that there are cases that occur across the district. But I will say that for the most part, the trend we are seeing is when someone is, when an individual tests positive for COVID, they come back in 10 days. That's not always the case. We know that we have individuals that are in this room, that their families have been affected, their spouses have been affected by this for longer periods of time, but in general, we are seeing our kids recover quickly and come back to our schools. And I think that reflects in our numbers. We said a couple of weeks ago that we expected the COVID numbers to rise when school started, and then we expected them to plateau and begin decreasing, and that's what we've seen. And we expect those trends to really continue probably to about Christmas, and then we'll see what happens, Thanksgiving, and then we'll see what happens after Thanksgiving, but because between Thanksgiving and Christmas last year, we know that's when we saw our highest numbers of the year. In addition to COVID-19, I do want to thank Ms. Alana. Next month, we are going to have Representative Glenn Rogers here, and we are going to do a recognition or acknowledgement of Teresa Thomas and the resolution they did down at the Capitol. Also, want to let you guys know that next week our auditors will be here, and they will begin the annual audit, and it'll be a busy time for Emmett and his staff. They're busy all the time, but they're really busy when the auditors come in, and again, that's an annual requirement by the Texas Education Agency. And then finally, I just want to give a shout out to our coaches and our sponsors and our teachers. Been at the last few football games, and it is awesome. If you get the chance, you can arrive early, and you can go watch a little bit of volleyball in the gym, and then you can make your way out to the football field, and you can catch our football team on the field with the stowaways dancing at halftime, the cheerleaders on the field throughout the game, and then we have an absolutely incredible band. And the community has been so supportive. It's amazing how many people are coming out. And not to mention JROTC, they were here tonight. They're out there doing push-ups every time we score, and it's been a pretty good year. They've been doing a lot of push-ups. So it has been, it's pretty amazing, and I encourage, one of the great things about Granbury, even though we are growing and we are seeing our largest enrollment in the history of the district, when you come out on Friday nights, we still have a very small town feel. And it's just a testament not only to this board, but our city leadership, our county leadership, our parents, and our kids, because they really work so hard. And it's not about wins or losses as much as it is about just growing good, productive kids. And so just shout out to all of our coaches and all of our sponsors for a phenomenal job. As I look and see what's happening across the state and across the nation in schools, we have a lot to be proud of here in Granbury. And with that, that'll conclude my report tonight, but I will remind all of you that at the end of this week, you all have continuing education hours with the TASB Leadership Conference. And I think you have that information in your yellow folder provided, purple folder provided by Ms. Barnes.
Thank you, Dr. Glenn. Good report, and we certainly appreciate the great job you're doing. At this time, it looks like, Emmett, are you going to give us a report on our annual federal programs?
Yes, sir. Board, before you have an informational item, it is on our federal programs for the 21-22 school year. It is broken down by what we consider the object codes, which would be our payroll, which is our payroll cost, our contracted services, supplies and materials, other operating costs, and our capital outlay. If you go down through there, you can see under the payroll costs, we have approximately $5,459,000 available to us to use in those salary positions. Under the contracted services, about $688,155 under that object code, and then for our supplies and materials, $1.8 million, and then our other operating costs are $138,000. And then under our capital outlay, we have about $1,599,000. All of these programs range from our ESSA programs through our Carl Perkins programs, our IDB programs, and then, of course, our ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 that we've talked about. All of these programs totaled up, including the T-class, which is worth about $2.3 million, which we have not been awarded yet. We've been allowed to apply for those grants, but we do not have those yet. All of these grants totaled up that we have available to us this year add up to about $17.3 million. Now, I will remind you that the ESSER 2 runs through 2023, and then the ESSER 3 runs through 2024. So we will divvy those out a little bit, so to speak. $2.5 million of the ESSER 2 funds they use as hold harmless. If you'll remember, at the last board meeting, we did do a budget amendment to up our recapture payment, and then we used some of this ESSER 2 to supplant those funds. And when we get down further into the financials, you'll see that it actually helped us on our bottom line. And when it's all said and done, because the state keeps moving that number around just a little bit from day to day, it may even be better than that. But we can talk about that in a little bit, and then we'll find out more after this week with the auditors, or this next week with the auditors. We'll have more information on that. Of course, that 2.5 was a supplant, and then under ESSER 3, we had about $960,000, and that was for the first retention stipend that we did under ESSER 3, that we did right as we came back to in convocation. And then under that ESSER 2 again, which you just approved for the 21-22 compensation revision, and that stipend that we will be doing at November. And then there will be another retention stipend, I believe, later on in the year that we've talked about. And that is the federal funds in a nutshell at the amount of about $17.3 million.
And let's just, again, so we can be very clear and transparent, those are federal funds coming in. And if those monies are not spent by Granbury ISD, the allocated funds to the district, they will be taken back and sent up to Washington and spent elsewhere. And so we're going to use those money to benefit the kids and taxpayers of this community, because we certainly pay our fair share of taxes. And another important point to bring up, you've heard Mr. Whitefield say it a couple of times, supplant. And so we are currently working our budgets even with last year's budget that basically ended August 31st. We have supplanted funding across the board to make sure that some of our local funds are freed up, that give us a little more flexibility to use how we want to use them. So good job on that, and I do think we're going to, from a financial standpoint, we're going to be looking really good when the auditors come back with their report in November or December.
Any other question or any questions for Emmett? Emmett, as usual, we thank you and your staff, the business office. You guys did a terrific job. We look forward to that audit report. You can go ahead and carry us through the remainder of the agenda items.
Yes, sir.
All your reports.
The next item on your agenda is the financials ending August 31st, 2021. This is the fiscal year end. If you look at that, you can see that we do have a net profit currently of about $2.9 million. The majority of that you can chalk up to our supplant from ESSER 2 that we did use at the last board meeting. When it's all said and done, there will be some more adjustments to that. Like I said, they are adjusting our recapture as we speak. The settle up on that will come in the spring, but the auditors know about it, so it will be more than likely reflected in our annual audit. But you can see that our revenues are currently at 101.56% of what is budgeted. Some things that we make note of there is that we had increased Medicaid this year, and we had also increased indirect costs that we received for certain federal funds. Our expenses are at 96.47%, which is about 3.53% of a lapse in our expenditure budget, which totals about $2.6 million. So when you add up all of those different things, it starts to look like, you know, we're putting some money back into fund balance to use for future construction, future land purchases, those things that we could do in the future. Any questions about your financials? The next thing on your agenda is your cash flow and investment report. We talk about this quite a bit, but we know that our investments are not what they used to be in years past. You can see in the financials that we currently are only at about 23.87% of our budgeted funds. However, this year, the budget that you approved for this year, we only budgeted about $100,000 in that area. So we're hoping that we hit pretty close on it this year. So we should be good there. It's, like I said, it's pretty dismal, but it is what it is at this point, and we do the best we can. And then the last thing on your agenda is the categorical purchases between $50,000 and $100,000, and we had one in the month of July, and it was one for August. It was $57,572.40, and it was through the buy board, and it was to Lone Star Furnishings, and that was for the tables at Emma for the family dining. And that is everything I have, sir.
All right, thank you, Emmett. Appreciate it. Good report. Good stewardship of the numbers, as usual. We appreciate that. Makes our life easier. Okay, we're down to item 10. This considers staff recommendations. Dr. Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very short HR report for you tonight. I want to thank Mr. Jones and his team for putting it together. Also, for everything they've done this year. I know his office has been extremely busy trying to hire full-time subs, just trying to hire temporary subs, and in addition to dealing with these few personnel matters you have before you. It is our recommendation that you approve as presented tonight.
Well, Mr. President, I move that we approve the staff recommendations as presented.
I will second that.
Thank you, Mr. Moore, for the motion, and Ms. Solano for the second. Really short list tonight. That's good. All those in favor of the staff recommendations, raise your hand. And that motion carries. I show the time at 7:17 p.m. and see no other business before the board. We are now adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, Board.